Hey, and welcome back to Web3 with Whitney. This is day 23. Yesterday, I took the day off. So I guess technically today is day 24 and I skipped day 23, but we're just going to pretend that it was all consecutive. Because, technically, this is my 23rd day doing it. And I mentioned 2 days ago on my last broadcast that I want to give myself the room and the permission and set up some expectations that I may not be here every day. And it felt really good to take some time off from this. I needed some extra rest. I'm feeling much better. If you hadn't listened to the last few episodes, I was just having a rough week and not feeling my best. But I'm happy to report that I feel great today. I have tons of energy, which is like always an exciting thing. I've been experimenting with drinking less caffeine, and I feel like maybe I got over the hump. If for those of you that drink caffeine regularly, like coffee or energy drinks, it can be really tough to cut back or cut it out entirely. So yeah, that's been a fun journey. But anyways, natural energy can come too from lots of rest, which I gave myself. So today I am going to talk about what it means to get doxxed. I am going to share some updates with things that are going on in the Web3 world. Before I get into that, I just want to remind you that you can always go to my website, whitneylauritsen.com/web3, because there's some resources on here. Number one, if you want to earn some free cryptocurrency, I have my social token, the Wellcoin on Rally. All you have to do is send me a question or a topic request, and I will send you some Wellcoin. I have a few that are pending right now. So if you're one of the last few people that have sent me over some topics, thank you so much. And keep an eye out. You'll get an email. I just have to do it manually. So I'm going to probably give out Wellcoin once a week. And some of the topics and questions have been things I've already covered. So if that's the case, I probably won't address your newer topic request. I'll just refer you back to the catalog. And if you haven't seen all the episodes, you can catch the full YouTube playlist here for all the videos. And if you prefer to listen to the audio, you can come here. You can also go over to Spotify, as I've mentioned, but I'm using a private podcast feed. So in order to listen to Spotify, there's one other step that I haven't set up yet. So stay tuned if you prefer that. And this extra step will also allow you to listen on a different podcast player, so you don't have to go to my website. I want to thank the website or the podcast listeners. I am really blown away, very pleasantly surprised at how many people have listened to this show. I was not expecting that. And I actually just didn't really have any expectations. I just wanted to talk about Web3 and see what happened. So thank you for those that have watched, who have listened. It really is encouraging to me, and hopefully you've been finding this helpful. I'm striving every day to make this more valuable to you. And that's exactly that's one of the main reasons I'll say that I created this section on the website, so that you can let me know any feedback, questions, topic requests here, and also get rewarded for it. And let's see. Well, one thing I want to make sure that I touch upon today before I dive into all of this content is continuing to acknowledge that Web3 can feel really overwhelming. It definitely does for me. I had a few moments today where I was gearing up to record and thinking about what I wanted to talk about today. And I just felt like there's so many topics that I almost don't know where to begin. So generally, if I don't have a topic request or a question, and I do have one more, by the way, that has overwhelmed me, so I haven't even gotten to it yet. Sometimes just picking something and then doing all the research is tough for me. But there are other times where I just try to reflect on something simple that I want to learn and share with you. And whenever I feel overwhelmed, it helps me recognize that others probably do too. I saw a tweet today acknowledging how a lot of people don't even feel like they have time to learn Web3. And I think that's because it feels like it's learning something so foreign. And in a lot of ways, Web3 actually isn't that foreign. It's just kind of understanding the terminology, the lingo, like doxing, for example, is a term that I wasn't super familiar with, at least not in the context of Web3, which is why I'm going to cover that today. But I just want to remind you that there's really no rush here. I've talked about this, I think it was on the last episode. Is that right? Let me go back. Yes, it was about setting your goals, day 22. And I just want to reiterate that again is that you can go at your own pace with all of this. And I think culturally, there's a lot of emphasis on hustling, a lot of emphasis on being first, on getting successful, on competing. And you're probably going to see a lot of that in Web3. That also came up to me this morning. I saw someone releasing an NFT project, and I had this moment of, oh, why haven't I finished my NFT project yet? And maybe I should have done this months ago. And am I going to be too late? And then I had all this fear building up of, wow, things are moving so fast. And like, what if I don't get off the ground at the rate that I want to? And I think I've mentioned before, but it's really worth repeating, is that I've been through this personally in the past with a lot of my work. And that gave me the perspective to realize that there really is no rush and there's no finish line, truly. I also think that it's important to just keep going and maintain momentum, which, as I mentioned, is the main reason that I show up for this series. And I encourage you to as well, just listening to this. I really want to congratulate you, not because I want to say like, hey, my show is so great. Congratulations for listening. More just the fact that you're listening or watching to the show. And if you have come back multiple times, I want you to acknowledge that within yourself, because that is part of your learning. So for me with Web3, I try to spend time on Twitter. And I think it's important for me and for you, acknowledge if you go on Twitter and read just one tweet about Web3, that is helpful. I actually have a number of Twitter news to share today. So if you haven't gotten to Twitter or you're not even on Twitter yet, that's okay. Discord, same thing. If you open up Discord and go into one Discord server or join one Discord server, that is a step. And once you get further into this, you might be following a ton of accounts on Twitter and a ton of Discord servers. And that actually can lead to a ton of overwhelm. Ideally, like I have this goal of like checking up on Twitter every day, going through all the unread things on Discord server. I'm also in a Slack group for this program that I'm in. Like, I would love to read all my emails about Web3. There's all these goals that I have in mind. But I've realized that just doing one of any of that is enough, just a little of any of that. So please keep that in mind next time you feel overwhelmed. Just do a little, or don't do any of it at all. Maybe you do what I did yesterday and just take a break, step away. You don't have to work on this every single day, because I believe if you feel overwhelmed and stressed by this, this is actually getting in your way more than helping you. Any of this FOMO, any of this pressure to rush and be first or quick, like you're going to see that come up a lot. And you probably will inadvertently fall into the comparison trap a ton, depending on the angle that you want to take in Web3. Maybe you just want to understand it and be passive. But even then, you might feel like other people know more than you and you're behind. And I want to remind myself and you to just step away actually in that moment. That's what I did earlier when I felt overwhelmed. I just stepped away from my computer and I did something completely unrelated. And then I came back and here I am. So one of the big missions I have with this series is to be here for you almost every day. And even when I'm not live, if for some reason I'm taking another break, you can always message me on Twitter, direct message me on another platform, email me right in that form that I set up on the website. Just reach out. I'm there for you. Truly, that's my big aim. And actually, I hope that this show doesn't become too big to the point where I can't get back to you. That's one thing. And actually, the last point I'll make about this. I've been on platforms like YouTube and various social media platforms for over 10 years. And for so many years, I had this goal of reaching a certain number of subscribers or followers. There's so much of that pressure in this online industry, and that'll continue to be the case with NFTs and with cryptocurrency and social tokens and Metaverse and all these projects. I don't know if that's going to go away. I think that we are at a state with humanity where, or culturally, I should say, where there's just so much emphasis on how much money you make and how many followers you have, how big your community is, right? And that's probably just a huge part of us historically as human beings. If we look back, actually, there's a great book, I think it's called Status Anxiety, that I read a couple years ago that shows like the whole history of status. And a lot of our stress and anxiety is tied to that. A lot of our fear of not being good enough is tied to that. But so much of it is completely meaningless. And going back to what I've learned over the years is that once I let go of how many followers I had and how much money I was making and just focused on like what I truly needed, I felt more relaxed, but I also felt more connected. And that's been my mission in the past 2 years, was to connect with people. And that's okay. It's okay to have a small group. And actually, in many ways, I'd prefer it because I don't have the energy or mental bandwidth to respond to a ton of comments and questions and messages and emails every day. I just don't. The only way I'd be able to handle that, and the only way I have been able to handle that in the past, is to hire someone to help me. So I kind of don't want to get to the point where I have so many things coming up that I can't do it myself, because that feels disconnected. And maybe this will help reframe. If you see anyone who seems ultra successful and it's got all this stuff, whether it's followers or money or resources, whatever it is, like really step back and examine, like, do you want that? And what are the trade-offs with it? Is it worth those trade-offs, the stress, the time, the burnout, the, lack of bandwidth, the not being able to connect with people? There's a lot of trade-offs. And I've learned over time that I much prefer having a smaller community and a true community. And that's why participation is something I deeply value. So when you're ready to participate, to reach out to me, to ask questions, I hope that I am still at a point where I can connect with you on the deeper level that I hope to maintain. All right. So with that said, actually, that can lead me into the very first thing I want to share today, which is a resource for you. And for those that are watching the video version of it, everything is linked, except on Twitter. I think it doesn't display this way, but on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook for sure, Twitch, I believe as well. It has in the description all the links that I reference. I plan most of them in advance, so you can follow along with me. If you're listening to the podcast, the easiest way right now is to go over to the Spotify viewing of Web3 with Whitney, and it has the list there, or you can go to YouTube, whatever, any of the video platforms. In the future, as I've mentioned, I plan to make some other spot on my website so that everybody can find the links in one place. I just haven't gotten around to that. But anyways, I'm going to share my screen. And this tweet from Gary Vaynerchuk is the first thing I want to share. It's just a short interview he did with CNBC today, and a lot of people were raving about this. And just a few notes on what he said is, one, I believe he was referring to Web3 when he said it's a new platform where consumers and humans will evolve. And then he was asked about NFTs, and he simplified it by saying NFTs are assets to communicate who you are. So this is worth a watch because Gary Vaynerchuk, if you're not familiar with him, has been a thought leader in social media and Web 2. And now he's really involved in Web 3, has his own NFTs. And he's somebody that I look to a lot to just kind of see where things are evolving. I really appreciated his advice at many stages. One was about 2 or 3 years ago when he was raving about TikTok. And he was the reason I finally got on TikTok after thinking, TikTok, who cares? And then I got on TikTok in October 2019. I've made friends on there and had amazing experiences. I've trained people on it. Like, so much has happened because I was pushed by him, because I think that he has great things to say. But the downside to Gary over the years, I don't know how accurate this still is because I don't follow him as closely, but a lot of people like me have kind of stepped away from him because he seemed to be so in this world of hustle culture. He's got a really big audience. He's kind of put up on a pedestal in a lot of ways. So I encourage you to take his advice and perspective on things with a grain of salt. He might not even be your cup of tea, but he is worth just paying attention to every once in a while, and just kind of adjust your perspectives on things based on what he says and what he doesn't say. The next thing I want to share is something that came up on my Facebook today, which is a NFT project by someone I know through the vegan world. And this is a project called Little Angels. It's a 10,000 hand-drawn generated NFTs by reformed addict Microdose. 20% of sales go to cannabis justice and drug reform, and it's women-led. And you can go follow them on Twitter. You can go to their Discord, which I joined, and check out them. I think they're doing some cool things. This is Megan, who is behind this project, and she has done a lot of really great things in the plant-based world. So if you're vegan like me, if you're familiar with her and her work, I would definitely check this out. And this is pretty neat. Just seeing everything that she's done. So I always like to shout out anyone that I know. And also on the Discord for Little Angels, there was a little checklist of things to do to get into the NFT space. Number one was to read through helpful articles in their resource channel. I'm having some weird tech issues right now, so sorry about that. They're back again. Oh no. I think it's pretty minimal. Number two is to create a digital wallet and securely store your secret recovery phrase. I talked a little bit about this in the past. Digital wallet could be a platform like Coinbase or MetaMask. Those are two of the bigger wallets out there. Set up a hardware wallet to more securely store your NFTs. This is something that I've been wanting to do. I talked in the past about Ledger and Trezor. And Ledger, I think, keeps coming up, so I think I'm going to go with them. Number four, spend 50 hours reading and learning about NFTs before you buy your first one. So I don't know where that number came exactly from. Again, this is from the Little Angels Discord channel. But, I think it's spend a lot of time is the point. Like, take your time learning about NFTs before you buy them. This also comes back around. I think the issue with my camera got all fuzzy all of a sudden. It's probably just because it's dark out, but it drives me nuts. Let me see if I can fix it. Interesting. Sorry about that for those that are watching. I've been wanting to get a light, they make these webcam lights that make sure that you stay very well lit, and this one that I currently have is just not cutting it. Anyways, I think it's important, but it's interesting to see this advice given by an NFT project, because what I've noticed when I'm in Discord servers or following an NFT project's Twitter account is there tends to be a lot of FOMO being circulated within the platform, because as I've mentioned, NFTs their value a lot of times, not always, are based on hype. So it's like if you go into any of their accounts, it's hype, 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 hype. There's another one I just started following the other day that seems like an amazing project, but I'm almost on the verge of unfollowing them because whenever I go on Twitter, all I see is them hyping up themselves or other projects, and I get to this point of overwhelmed, as I mentioned, where it just feels like FOMO constantly. So this is really important, is that you may need to completely tune all of that out and study before you even start to follow a Twitter account, before you join a Discord server. And I actually think that that's a wise advice if you're easily overwhelmed. If you do just want to spend a week straight and study all of this stuff, and you could go at a rapid rate, but most people, I imagine, could probably take in an hour, maybe 5 hours a week before they actually get in. So give yourself that time. It might take you a few months before you feel ready to buy an NFT. I just bought one today, but the reason I was able to do that was because it was on the Rally platform. And my social token, the Well coin, is on the Rally platform. And hey, I just want to pause for a second to say hi to some people who are watching. Thanks for being here. I always want to acknowledge. I heard the sound, but I didn't even come up. So hey to Jumpman OG over on Twitch. Thanks for being here. And Money Talks, who said something about volume and asked if I'm a developer. So hopefully my audio is sounding okay to you. So give me a thumbs up if you can hear everything okay. It looks good on my end. I'm not a developer. At least, probably not going to become a developer, but turn up the volume slightly. Well, I can try that a little. It looks pretty good. But here, how was that? Tell me if that's better. I don't like to overblow my mic, but happy to do it up a little bit. So anyways, yeah, I'm not a developer. I try to pay a lot of attention to what developers are doing, but I am not at that point yet with my interest level, at least. So going back to what I was sharing over at the Little Angels NFT project, another piece of advice similar to what I say is to join Twitter and follow people in the NFT space. But again, keep in mind that Twitter is really tough to learn from, in my opinion, depending on the accounts that you follow. I've noticed with Twitter is that it's just not set up, just like any social media rarely is set up for education. What you'll find with most people is they may share some educational things, but they're also probably hyping up their own project, hyping up other people's projects. And that's why Twitter, I think, can be really challenging. I've mentioned before how I made a list of people in Web3, and I've been thinking of going back and refining it because a lot of times I go on that list and I feel like I'm not learning anything. I'm just like seeing people post random things and hype each other up. If you want to learn, I really recommend joining a curriculum or going to a website. There, I've mentioned them before in the past, like ethereum.org has a really great like blog post series, and Binance does. Like there's a ton out there. So it may be better for you to learn outside of Discord and Twitter. Something that I've noticed. And then lastly, watching YouTube videos and learn about cryptocurrency as well. Awesome. But just like my channel, I mean, maybe that's why you're watching or listening, but I've been speaking for 22 minutes and I feel like I still need to get to the point. So it depends. It depends on how you like to learn and who you like to learn from. So figure out what works best for you, I guess, is my big piece of advice. Now, one thing I did find on Twitter that I linked to in the description, but I don't think I'm going to get deep in today because of the time, but I'm just going to share, is an account, Shivanshu Madden, if I'm saying their account name right. They posted about NFTs revolutionizing the way we retire and 3 ideas on how NFTs could generate a passive income stream. So if you've been thinking of buying, selling, or making your own NFTs, this might be worth a read. Just really briefly, it says a few ideas of how they can be your low hustle passive income solution. Can I click on this? Let me see if I can bring this. Okay, good. So a few ideas are music NFTs, which is making a song and selling it as an NFT. Sports teams that could sell season passes as NFTs, and holders could get exclusive perks, vote on decisions, and earn a share of income generated by the stadium. I love that idea. In real estate, which is you can invest in the development of a mall in your city in this example, and the investment won't be too high, but once the mall is built, these NFTs would have a resale value for people looking to buy space in the mall, which you could simply rent it out or generate an income stream. And this is actually pretty interesting because I've been hearing about a lot of real estate related. Oh, you know what? I just realized what might be going on. No, that's not right. I feel like my camera changed, and that's so strange. Sorry. I'm so distracted. For those that are just listening, the camera quality went way down. Very odd in the middle of my stream, but maybe it's just a internet issue. Anyways, I've been hearing about a lot of people buying real estate in this NFT space, in the metaverse, and it doesn't really interest me at this point, except for the fact that I think it's cool. So I love this tweet just giving some different ideas about generating passive income, which I think a lot of people enjoy, especially with the great what's it called? The great this time where people are leaving their jobs, right? Whatever. I don't know why I can't think of the term. Resignation, right? Great resignation. And so many people wanting to work from home or to quit their jobs, work for themselves, looking into passive income. I think that's one of the greater appeals of Web3. And these are really basic ideas, but certainly some avenues that feel very promising right now. And Money Talks just asks, what's my full-time job? It's a little complex, I guess. I do a bunch of different things. I've always been someone that has multiple streams of income. Like even when I was a little kid, I was always trying to make money on as many different avenues as possible. And I've been a content creator. I still do content like this. I am on multiple podcasts. I have my own, plus I co-host podcasts, and I advise people on marketing strategies and content approaches and various elements of the web. So those are a few of my main sources of income, and it's constantly shifting. And now I have my social token on Rally, which generates some income for me, although I've never what's the term? I've never taken it out of Rally. So the well coin, I just reinvest it back into my coin and other creators, and the money's just sitting there, hopefully growing. And as I learn about Web3, I'm trying to take very cautious approaches to money making. Okay, two other pieces of news before I get into the main topic today. Which is supposed to be the main topic, but I guess it's just one topic out of many. So a couple things I found interesting. One is that YouTube has spoken out more about NFTs and the Metaverse. I mentioned this a few episodes back, how they had some plans to be in the Web3 space. And today, February 10th, they elaborated on that, which is that they're trying to harness the emerging technologies to cut fraud in the fast-growing digital art market and offer a more social viewing experience for gaming content. And there's a quote from the blog post that they put out, which is to give a verifiable way for fans to own unique videos, photos, art, and even experiences from their favorite creators could be a compelling prospect for creators and their audience. And they're interested in allowing users to watch videos together in the metaverse. Generally, it'll focus on videos related to gaming, where they will work to bring in more interactions to games and make them feel more alive. That phrase kind of gave me the creeps, to be honest. Make people feel more alive in the metaverse. I'm curious to know what that means. I mean, people are concerned that the metaverse is going to pull people away from real life. So if the metaverse feels like you're alive when you're in a virtual space, I don't know. There's pros and cons to that, right? But there's part of me that's like, ooh. I hope we don't feel like too alive where we don't feel alive in real life, if that makes, or outside of the metaverse. The other interesting piece of news is probably no surprise to anyone who knows Logan Paul, but he has filed trademarks for an NFT marketplace called DAO Ventures. And if you're not familiar with Logan Paul, he's a social media star, an undefeated professional boxer who's been in the space of Web3 for a while. So it's really not much of a surprise, given that I think we're going to see more and more content creators, social media people, influencers getting into this space. It'll be a main way in which people make money. And it's definitely worth looking out for. He also, his first collection was World of Women. So if you saw my episode the episode a few back, I talked about female focused NFT projects and crypto projects or Web3 projects in general. And it's kind of cool to see that he's supportive there. World of Women has been really successful. And I think, even if you don't like Logan Paul, he's still an influential person. So him being involved in this space could actually put it more in the mainstream, could add more money in. And if you're a fan of his, and this is a really cool opportunity to get involved with his NFTs. And again, I just think we're going to see a ton of people like him. And this is another reason why I want to do this series regularly, is like more and more. If you pay attention every day, there are people like him coming out and starting NFT projects and talking about Web3. And there are people that are probably in this world that haven't even fully announced it yet. There's a ton of celebrities. I think I'd mentioned a few days ago that I saw this TikTok video of this girl referring to NFTs as pyramid schemes, which is something I covered a while ago on this show, relatively a while ago. So if you go to whitneylortzen.com/web3, you can find the archive and find the one that says "Are NFTs pyramid schemes?" if you're curious about that. I think yes and no. And that kind of ties into the doxing topic that I'm finally going to get into. Um, which is that certainly there are what they call rug pulls. There are people doing scams. There's all sorts of, people doing shady things in this space, giving NFTs and Web3 a bad name. But as it becomes more mainstream, I think people will begin to trust it more because it's just going to be so commonplace. And then the whole idea is that we're all going to be in Web3. It's not like you're going to have a choice to stay in Web2, in my opinion. We're just going to be in Web3. That's going to be the space that we're in, and that's just going to be part of our lives. That's kind of what Gary Vaynerchuk was saying in that post that I shared about him earlier. All right, so let's talk about doxing. And for anyone watching live, if you have questions, there's no such thing as a bad question or right or wrong question. And any topics, even if they're completely off topic, I'm happy to cover. And if you don't think of a question now, but you think of it later, head on over to my website and you can ask your question here, and I'll send you some of my social token, the Well coin, for free, just to reward you for participating. So I wanted to share this news that you may have heard of. It happened back on February 4th. So what is that, like about a week ago, a little under a week ago, last Friday, I think. And that is that Bored Ape Club was doxxed. And if you don't know about Bored Ape Club, it's a collection of about 10,000 avatars that became the most prestigious and most expensive NFT collection out there. They cost like an insane amount of money. I think maybe on average I heard they were about 30 ETH. Is that right? And I don't know what ETH is at right now. Let's see what the Ethereum cost. Last I checked, I think Ethereum was $3,000. So lots of money to buy one of these NFTs, and they've just built up so much buzz. And they also helped a lot of people understand what NFTs were or associate something with NFTs. So we're going to get more into the Bored Ape Club in a minute. But before I do, I want to make sure that you understand what doxing is, because as I mentioned at the very beginning, I didn't fully know. I knew it in the context that it's traditionally used, which is when somebody publicly puts out private personal information of someone on the internet. This is often done by hackers or criminals as a form of harassment, especially against somebody that they don't like. And people will take private information like contact information, so security numbers, financial information, home addresses, criminal history, phone numbers, all of these things online for anyone to access. And it's usually used as a revenge tactic or an aggressive action against somebody that they don't like. And it's considered to be highly illegal and can result in law enforcement and local police involvement. But I've been hearing a lot of people use this term dox in Web3 a little more casually. So that's what I was trying to understand. Mainly, from what I currently understand about it, it's just the act in which somebody is no longer anonymous. And that's exactly what happened with Bored Ape Yacht Club. So we'll get into that for a second. But that could be releasing someone's pictures, their names. It could be their identities in general are just public. And a lot of people use Web3 to stay anonymous, and that's one of the draws for people. However, doxing in the case of an NFT project can actually be a good thing because there are these things called rug pulls and scams that are happening. And if you don't know the creator of the NFT or the Web3 project, it's really hard for you to either avoid getting scammed or do anything about it if you are scammed. So a lot of people believe that the identities of people behind a project should be public in order to avoid some of these bigger issues. And that could be like somebody abandoning a project, acting in good faith, doing these things that are more positive and forward facing, versus there's just so much issue in general on the web of people faking their identities or hiding their identities in order to get away with some scams. So this article on BuzzFeed was published by this woman named Katie, who found the real names of Bored Ape Yacht Club's anonymous founders. And I haven't really read this, but I just got the gist. There's a really good article that I linked to from decrypt.co. And some people were really upset about this happening. So I wanted to dig into this more. So they were claimed to be these creators, this is one of them in this picture here, were unmasked by this BuzzFeed article. And it didn't contain anything scandalous about these guys. It's just that people, especially on Twitter, were really upset about this. So this article has a really great summary on it. Some of the reasons people were upset is because they felt like BuzzFeed was using this just for clicks and ad revenue, that, you know, they should be allowed to be anonymous if they wanted to, which it seemed like they did. So it doesn't seem like the creators were involved at all with this article coming out. Again, I have not read the BuzzFeed article. I just read this one here. And the controversy, according to this article on Decrypt, is that it boils down to whether crypto billionaires should be able to avoid the same sort of scrutiny that politicians and business leaders are subject to in free society. Scrutiny that helps citizens hold them accountable and understand who is running powerful segments of society. So I have some mixed feelings about this, right? Like, I definitely don't feel great about a publication like BuzzFeed putting out information that somebody has worked really hard not to put out there, right? I mean, as a creator myself, I try to keep a good amount of my life private. And if someone came out and shared information about my life that I didn't choose to be put out there, I would feel disappointed. I would feel frustrated. I might feel a bit taken advantage of, or there's another term that I can't think of off the top of my head, but it would probably just make me feel really unhappy and disappointed. But at the same time, people often say with celebrities that once you become really famous, people will do this stuff. It's very commonplace. And some people even say you're asking for it if you're famous or you're making a lot of money. And I'm sure there was a lot of curiosity about the people behind Bored Ape Yacht Club and the scrutiny around NFTs in general. So yeah, mixed feelings on my end. I'm curious how you feel, if you've been paying attention to this news, if you care about this, or if you end up reading this BuzzFeed article. You can go over to it in the link in the description, check it out, give it a read. And also I linked to the one for decrypt.co, and I would love to hear what you think. And again, if you submit that over at whitneylauritsen.com/web3, I will send you some So rewarding you for just sharing your opinion on something. That's something I'm happy to do. And I had another point that I was going to bring up about all of this. You know, I think that we're going to bring in a lot of the negativity and the hardships that we face in Web 2. We're not going to fully leave it behind. I think that there's a lot of hope for Web 3 and what that could be, but we're in a transitionary point, and we're used to things like cancel culture and accountability culture and call out culture. We're used to people doing these things to each other, and in a way, it kind of, it's like, from what the feeling I get from the reaction behind this BuzzFeed article, it's like we're trying to be in this place of respecting people's privacy and identity in Web3, but this BuzzFeed article is kind of forcing information out, which kind of falls into this ethical gray area. Like, should it be public? Should it be private? Is it people trying to force old ways of thinking into a new way of thinking, right? Is it that everybody's really curious about someone so they feel like they deserve the answer? Is it that BuzzFeed knows they can make a lot of money out? Like there's a lot here. And yeah, again, I don't know. I mean, there's part of me that feels like Bored Ape Yacht Club is just so cool. And actually seeing the pictures of the guy behind the guys, there's I think two of them and maybe a few others that were involved somehow. I felt comforted. I was like, they seem like nice guys. I saw they posted on Twitter like their response to it, and they kind of leaned into the controversy, and they were like, well, now that everybody knows who we are, we're going to share our photos. And I thought that the way they handled it seemed, from the small amount of information that I gathered, actually made me feel better about Bored Ape and trust them more. And I think that that part really comes along with this versus, as I was saying, when someone's anonymous, it's hard to trust somebody. It's hard to know if it's legitimate. It might feel like you're going to get scammed. But I also feel like we need to lean into and maybe reframe our viewpoints about privacy and think of it as beneficial. And maybe we can build more trust if we just practice trusting, right? If we think about how not everything has to be out in the public eye. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of this that I'm not fully skilled at speaking on yet. So that's why I found this information really interesting. And I think it's possible it could start a trend in either direction. So I'm definitely going to be paying attention to it. And I would love to hear your opinion. I would love to hear anything, whether it's something I talked about today or haven't gotten to yet. Please reach out to me. And if you don't want Wellcoin, that's cool. Send me a DM on social. Reach out to me publicly on Twitter. I've been working on the Discord very casually behind the scenes. So if that's something that you're interested in, stay tuned, because whenever it's out, you will know, because I will share it here. And I think that's it for today. So I'm going to wrap things up. I will probably be back tomorrow. And at the very least, stay tuned for day 24, whenever that may be. And yes, I will also keep you posted on the updates with the podcast and making that more accessible to you too. All right, bye for now. Have a wonderful rest of your day, whatever time it is, and best of luck with your journey. Remember to really pace yourself with all of this, and we're in this together. So anytime you feel stressed or frustrated or lonely or out of sorts with Web3, I'm here for you. And that's another reason for us to connect. So connect with me, connect with other people. Know that there are a lot of amazing people in this space, and I hope that I can be a regular reminder of that for you. Bye.